Okay, once again, good morning. And we've taken care of roll call. So what we'll do next is start looking at the syllabus, just to point out some features of the syllabus so you know what to expect for the semester moving forward. Okay, so I'm going to share my computer screen with you. Okay. And what I will do is typically have something up on the screen that you can see. I may occasionally ask you a question in the chat window. So let me just ask a question to make sure the chat is working. And here we go. Can you see the course syllabus on my computer screen? Are you able to see that? Okay, great. Okay, so that, certainly that reminds me, when we're having a class, if you have a question, by all means, please ask it. You can type a question into the chat window. I will try to be sure that I don't miss it. However, if I do miss it, please speak up. Please unmute your microphone and say, hey, Dr. Allen, excuse me, I was just wondering about this topic. I had a question, and we'll get that taken care of, okay? So please ask questions along the way. Okay, well, you know what course you're in. You wouldn't be here this morning if you didn't, but you know that you are registered for section 31222 of Anatomy and Physiology 1. We meet Mondays and Wednesdays at 8 a.m. Let's try to stay hopeful that we will, in fact, get back to campus to be in person soon. I'm hopeful that will happen. And when that does happen, our meeting location will be on the Lancaster campus in the East Building, room 227, right? So that's the location you would go to on campus to attend class. Being that it's the winter time, there's a fairly decent chance that we may have some winter weather during our semester. So I do put a web link here. If you want to know if HAC is closing or anything due to inclement weather, please go to this web link and you'll get the necessary information. Typically these days we don't have delayed openings. Typically if the weather's bad, we're simply going to close for the day. So just be aware of that. Okay, once again, my name is Dr. Allen, and I've given you some contact information here. At this time, particularly as we stay with remote instruction for a while, definitely email is the best way to get a hold of me. My email address is right here for you, tdallen@hac.edu. You have my email address because I emailed you, right? I emailed you about instructions for getting online. So you have it, and please feel free to send me a note anytime you need to communicate with me. As we do get back on campus, my office telephone is 358-2281, and my office, if you want to come visit with me during office hours, is also in the East Building, room 206R. Okay, if at any point during the semester you need to talk to a human being about something happening and you can't get a hold of me, feel free to reach out to my administrative assistant. Her telephone number is 358-2983, and she will, at the very least, relay messages to me, okay? So feel free to do that if you want. Okay, office hours. I have office hours 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday at these times that you see right here. And by office hours, I mean these are set periods of time where you do not have to make an appointment to see me. You do not need an appointment. You just pop on in, okay? So right now I'll be having office hours through Zoom. Today, I'll have an office hour from 9:30 to 11:30. I'll be online on Zoom. And feel free to come in any office hour, talk about any content questions, topics that are bothering you. Come in and talk to me about career issues, things you want to be thinking about your own career development. Be happy to have those conversations. So please take advantage of the office hours. Okay, the course textbooks. All right, let's take a look at this. Okay, So your textbooks this semester will be digital through WileyPlus. The first textbook here is Principles of Anatomy and Physiology, the 16th edition. The print version of the book looks like this big, thick textbook here. You can maybe see how phenomenally thick this thing is. It's not coming up too good in the video window, but it's a very big A&P book. Okay. You will get access to that digitally. The lab manual is the 7th edition by Allen and Harper. You will also get access to that digitally. If you haven't already seen that for yourself online, I'll show it to you this morning. We will also be using a special software application called Visible Body to learn our anatomy this semester. And I will certainly get you started with that this coming Monday when we actually have our first lab of the term. Okay, so you should be in good shape. You have access to everything you need electronically to succeed. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is it okay? I bought the actual books because I like to have them with me and be able to like write in them and stuff. Is that okay too? Like, can we use both?
Tristan, you may use both, and that's fine with me.
Okay.
If you prefer using a physical book, that is totally okay. You still need to have access to WileyPlus for your homework.
Okay.
But you may use both simultaneously. That's okay.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Sure thing. Thanks for asking. And just so everyone knows, you know, what I find is typically students will start their semester by reading the digital textbook. And you might get to a point 3 or 4 weeks into the semester where you're reading the digital textbook and start thinking to yourself, you know what? I really don't like reading a book on the computer. I would much prefer to have a physical textbook. Please know that the Hack Bookstore does stock loose leaf versions of the textbook at a reduced cost. So for example, you could get a loose leaf version of the textbook for about $35 or $40. You could get a loose leaf version of the lab manual for, again, another $35 or $40. I know that's not super cheap, but it's not $150, okay, is what I'm saying. So it's a very reasonable way to get a physical book if you would prefer that. Okay, in terms of grading in here, here's how you will be graded, okay? You will have 3 lecture exams. The lecture exams can be on anatomy and physiology, but they will emphasize physiology. You will have 3 laboratory exams. The lab exams, frankly, are all anatomy. The lab exams are all anatomy because this is a course that is designed to get you started in a future health career. We design it to support people that want to become nurses and move on through the medical system. So anatomy is very important in this class, and the lab exams will emphasize your anatomy knowledge. Also, there are 14 homework assignments that are given to you this term through WileyPlus. Basically, you complete the homework assignments roughly on a weekly basis. And by completing the homework assignments, you get credit towards your final grade. Okay, so the homework actually helps you in 2 ways. The homework gives you credit towards your final grade, which is helpful. And the homework helps you learn the content so that you can do better on exams, which is helpful. So the homework is integrated into the course and really is designed to enrich the experience. Now, in terms of your exams, every exam has a weight. You notice here, exam 1 has a weight of 13%, exam 2 has a weight of 16%, exam 3 is 14%. What that means is that, let's take exam 1 as an example. Exam 1 is weighted as 13%. What that means is that at the end of the semester, whatever you scored on exam 1, it will be weighted as 13% of your overall course grade. So let's say, for example, on exam 1, you get an 85%. So for exam 1, you've gotten an 85%. That is a B on the exam. At the end of the term, that 85% will be weighted at 13% of your overall course grade. Okay. If you're to go through and add up the weights, 13 plus 16 plus 14, plus 13 plus 15 plus 15, plus 14 for homework, you'll notice that all the weights sum up to 100%. Okay. All right, so we have lecture exams, we have lab exams. The lab exams will be on these topics. Okay, the first exam will be on anatomy knowledge of the skeleton. Exam 2 will be on anatomy knowledge of the muscles, skeletal muscles, and some histology. Histology is a study of tissue. Exam 3 will be on your knowledge of your nervous system anatomy. Okay, and while you may or may not know this, when you talk about the human body, there are basically two major control systems, two major command and control systems. The primary command and control system is the nervous system. So we finish the semester with that information. And then the second command and control system is the endocrine system, dealing with hormones. The endocrine system will be covered typically as the first topic you do in Anatomy and Physiology 2. So you end AMP1 with the primary command and control system, and you start AMP2 with the secondary command and control system. Okay. Okay. So those are your grading opportunities. Do you have any questions at this time? Okay. So all of these things, lecture exams, lab exams, and your homework will be combined at the end of the semester. And whatever you get from a combined percentage perspective, that's what your letter grade will be. So if your percentage ends up as an 84%, you'll get a B for the semester. If it ends up as a 91%, you'll get an A for the semester. If it ends up as a 68%, you would get a D for the semester. Okay, so moving on here, on the front page, I also give information about refund information. Here's a web link. If you are in the semester for a couple weeks and you say to yourself, wow, I just don't know if I can do this kind of thing right now with all the pressures and demands, coronavirus, wintertime, all kinds of things going on. Hey, that's a personal choice, and everybody is under stress right now. You might want to drop the course and get some money back. This web link will indicate to you how late into the term you can still drop and recover some of your money. Okay. Hopefully we will get back to campus, and when we do, it's always important to think about safety. Okay, on the Lancaster campus, the security telephone number for the emergency line is 358-2999. Non-emergencies 358-2996. Non-emergencies would be things like you have a dead car battery and you need somebody to jumpstart your car. Our security officers can help you with that kind of thing. Okay, so might be useful to have available and program into your cell phone. Finally, the E2 Campus Emergency Alert System. If you don't know about this or you haven't signed up for it, I encourage you to do that, because this is a way that you can get information from the college very rapidly. If HAC as an institution needs to communicate to all the employees and students at the school, they'll send out text alerts which provide information that might be helpful to you. Okay, it is free to you. There's nothing to pay. I encourage you to sign up for it. Okay, moving on here. Here's our lecture schedule. Obviously, we missed class on Monday because of Martin Luther King holiday. So this is our first day together. We'll stay on track with this schedule pretty close unless we have a snow day or something. So exam 1 is actually scheduled for February 28th, which seems like a long time away, but before you know it, you're going to blink your eyes and it's going to be right here ready to go. We have our midterm break scheduled in March, and we'll be missing the 14th and 16th, where there'll be no class due to midterm break. So please take note of that and maybe make some plans to have some fun, do something enjoyable. Okay. April 11th is the date for exam 2. And the final exam, which is lecture exam 3. Lecture exam 3 is the final exam. The final exam is not cumulative. Exam 3 is the final exam and it is not cumulative. It will be held during the week of May 5th through the 11th. But when I have a specific date, I'll let you know. That hasn't been determined just yet. Okay.
Professor,
So, yes.
are the rest of the exams accumulative?
Okay.
Like 1 and 2?
Thanks, Percy. I guess the best I could answer that for you is, generally speaking, no. But, you know, I mean, for exam 2, I would not necessarily go out of my way to ask you something from chapter 1, but certainly I expect you to retain certain pieces of information so you can reason with new knowledge going forward, right? So, for example, in chapter 3, which is an exam 1 chapter, we'll be going over the parts of a cell like the nucleus, mitochondria. So on exam 2, if I mention the word nucleus, I would still expect that you know that so that you could do the exam, right? So no, they're not cumulative. I don't go out of my way to draw information from previous chapters, but sometimes it's inevitable that I have to in order to ask you a question, okay? All right. Okay, so here's some student success advice. Tell you what, folks, I will come back and go over this with you in detail in just like 2 minutes. So I want to spend a lot of time on talking about student success in the course. So we'll come back to this in just a few moments, and I'll finish the rest of the syllabus here with you. All right, here is our laboratory schedule. Our labs are going to be on Mondays from 9:30 to 12:10. Hopefully we will get back to campus, and when we do, the lab room is going to be in the East Building, room 327. Room 327 in the East Building, which is at the top floor of the East Building, and it's actually a computer room. Okay, so we're going to be doing a biology lab in a computer room on campus, okay? I will show you how to access your homework here this morning. But as you can see here, to get your homework, you're going to log into WileyPlus, and I'll show you how to do that today. When you do that, there will be different kinds of homework assignments given to you, typically in 3 categories. You will have an activities category, a reviewing your knowledge category, and a using your knowledge category. And that will be presented to you in WileyPlus, okay? So this probably all seems a little bit nebulous right now, but please trust me, it will be okay. In 3 weeks, you will be a master at what this is. There'll be no problems, okay? All right, so just pointing out that the first lab exam is scheduled for February 21st. And so, you know, take note that the first lab exam is February 21st. The first lecture exam is February 28th. So you actually have the first exam of the semester from lab, followed by the first exam and lecture after that, okay? So the end of February will be a busy time for exams. All right. Again, on the 14th, we won't meet because of midterm break. You'll have your second lab exam on March 28th. That'll be on muscle anatomy. You'll have your third lab exam on May 5th, almost at the end of the semester, on nervous system anatomy, okay? Again, here we'll be using visible body software to learn the anatomy, and I will show you that. I won't go into any detail today, but I will on Monday. If I have time, maybe I'll pop it up a little bit today. But there are the instructions of how to access the software. And again, we'll give you much greater instructions this coming Monday during lab. Okay, any questions about the lecture or lab schedule? okay? So just a couple general classroom policies. You know, most of these policies really, well, they're not terribly relevant when we are remote, right? These are more of classroom policies when we're physically together in a building, okay? But suffice it to say some things like, you know, attendance is mandatory. And by that, I mean, you know, if you miss a class, you know, I'm not going to come knocking on your front door and say, hey, Joe, why weren't you in class? Of course, I won't do that. But you appreciate that if you're in class, you're more likely to be successful because you're part of the continual conversation of the course and you're not missing out on critical information. If you were to miss a class, particularly if you miss an exam, I do request that you contact me within 24 hours of missing the exam to let me know what's going on with you. Otherwise, I will assign a grade of 0 to the grade book, which obviously is, you know, a really hard thing to overcome if you have a 0 in the grade book. So please stay in touch with me if you miss class, particularly if you miss an exam. Okay, cheating on exams is wrong. Well, we all know that, but let's be honest, every one of us, myself included, is human, and sometimes we do things we shouldn't do. That's just part of the human experience, okay? But, you know, most of the exams, honestly, will be challenging enough that it would be hard to cheat. And what I mean by that is that the questions will be designed to make you think. So thinking is different from memorizing and regurgitating, right? Because you have to apply your knowledge. But please don't go out of your way to cheat. Please put that extra energy you would use to cheat into actually learning the content, and you will be better off for it, okay? All right, classroom behavior. Typically, you know, cell phones can be a problem in the classroom in terms of distractions and texting. You know, if you're going to text while you're online, that's your business. You know, it's not going to bother me. But I would encourage you when we get back to class to bring in your laptop computers and your tablets so that you can access the digital edition of your textbook during the class, because there'll be moments when I might reference something and I cannot easily display it on the front screen for you. So if you have access to your textbook while we're sitting in the classroom on your tablet or laptop computer, you know, please do that. I would encourage you to do that. Okay, withdrawing from the course. You have the right to withdraw from this course up to the 70% completion date, which, you know, I don't have the exact date, but that would probably put us into early April that you can withdraw from the course, get a W on the transcript rather than an F. So, you know, hopefully the semester will go well for you. But if there's things that happen in life that just make things challenging, please know you do have the right to withdraw from the course. Incomplete grades, okay? I do not give incomplete grades for any reason, okay? So I'm just letting you know that up front. Even if you have an illness or something like that, I will not give you an incomplete grade. So if there's something happening that's challenging in your life, such as illness or something, please contact me. We'll talk about what's going on and we'll find a path forward so that you can be successful, okay? Labs, again, labs don't mean much when we're sitting at home, but when we do get back on campus, please do not bring food or drink into the labs. We don't want you to spill liquids on the computers. And if we were in a biology lab, we wouldn't want you eating something when, you know, this is a biology lab. We've got bacteria and things, fungi and things that we intentionally study and use in biology. So we don't want you to be touching surfaces and putting those microbes into your mouth. Finally, lecture recording. Again, if we get back to class, I'll say it this way, when we get back to class, because we will, certainly if you want to record lecture for your private study time, that's okay with me. All right, so any questions? Okay, so course description. Well, I think anatomy and physiology is fairly self-descriptive. I mean, you know what the content of the course is. You're going to learn about the structures of the body. That's the anatomy. You're going to learn how the body functions, the processes and mechanisms that your organs and tissues and cells use to keep you healthy. You're going to learn these things in this course. And so this is kind of just a description of some of the things you can expect to learn, right? You're going to learn about molecular things, a little bit of chemistry. You're going to learn about cells, tissues, like, epithelial tissue. You're going to learn about organ anatomy, kidneys, liver, spleen, all that kind of good stuff. And you're going to learn about the relationships between the different organs. Okay, so there is a tremendous amount to accomplish, not only in AMP1, but in AMP2 as well. Okay, as we finish up coverage here of the syllabus, there's a section here on student accommodations. Okay, if you believe that you would benefit from a student accommodation, that you have a need for an accommodation, such as, if you do have, a learning disability such as dyslexia that makes it difficult for you to read text, then that would qualify for an accommodation where, I could give you more time to complete your exams and other assignments you might have. Okay, so if you feel that you should have an accommodation, we can offer that to you here at HAC, and you would have to go through our student services office to get those accommodations. So I provide contact information for the student services personnel at all the campuses. But since you're taking sort of a course from an instructor that's based at Lancaster, you would reach out to Vicki Van Heis and tell her about your accommodation request. Okay, she would go through the process with you, and as long as every situation is satisfied, then we can give you accommodations. Okay, so please take advantage of it if you believe that would be in your best benefit to do so. Okay, and lastly, just a statement about equal opportunity, right? HAC is an institution that, tries very hard not to bias or prejudice itself in the services and classes we offer to members of our community. Okay, we're not going to go out of our way to prejudice ourselves based on your gender, your skin color, your belief system, or any other thing you might think about. Folks, all I care about is, are you learning anatomy and physiology? That's what I want from you. Please learn anatomy and physiology, but we're not going to try to do that in a prejudicial way. Okay, so that's just about the end of things here. And I do need to talk about student success in the course, but let me pause and ask, do you have questions at this moment? Okay, go ahead.
I never attended in-person classes at HAC. You may not know the answer to this question, but like all my first semester, everything was remote. So is there like a process we have to go through like before we attend our in-person classes? Like, do we need to, make an ID? Do we need to take COVID tests? Like, or do we just, just show up on campus?
Right. Okay. Very nice question. Okay. So when we do get back to the physical classroom, first off, you do not need to take a COVID test in advance. You do not need to at this time. As long as you're feeling healthy, you may come on to campus. You will have to wear a mask while you're on campus. Obviously, there has to be a little bit of common sense these days. If you're not feeling well, and let's be honest, if you're not feeling well, it could be because you have COVID, could be because you have a cold, could be because you have the flu, could be because you have an allergy. Who knows? If you don't feel well, then just for the sake of your well-being and everybody else, just stay home and send me an email saying, Dr. Allen, I'm not feeling well, so I'm going to stay home today. So we can talk more about those things when we get back to campus. But again, as long as you feel healthy, you do not need to take a COVID test before coming onto campus. You just need to wear a mask when you come onto campus. Now, in terms of a student ID, typically what I would request that you do is reach out to, when you get to campus, Typically, our IDs are handled at the Welcome Center. So you can just walk over to the Welcome Center on campus and say, hey, I'm new here. I am a registered student. Could you help me get an ID? And they'll help you with that, Jessica, okay?
All right, thank you.
Sure thing.
Professor,
Yes.
I actually asked the same question and I emailed the Welcome Center. They informed me that right now, when they're set to come back, we can go in and submit to get it, but they might make us still make an appointment then while we're there. But right now they said that for like the parking passes and the IDs, like we're just supposed to still have our like state ID, and that the security isn't going to harp on the parking passes because I understand nobody has their stuff, but that they might not be back when we're set to go back to class. So the email said to watch the emails from the dean to see when the administrative staff is back in the college.
Okay. Thank you, Percy, for saying that. I deeply appreciate that, because things are, as you say, a little bit in flux right now. You know, before COVID, definitely the way to get your ID was to go right to the security office, but things are a little bit in flux right now because of the COVID situation. So thanks for sharing that, Percy. I appreciate that. Other questions? Okay, so I do want to talk about student success, but hey, I've already been talking for 39 minutes. And so I just wanted to pause a little bit and give you folks an opportunity to say hello to each other, right? One of the bad things about remote teaching is that you don't get to meet other human beings and just say hello. I really don't want you to feel isolated in this course. I'd like you to meet some other folks that you can chat with, or maybe even make a study partnership with. I mean, you don't want to go through this class by yourself is what I'm saying. So what I'm going to do is pause my conversation with you, and I'm going to put you into some breakout rooms, a little virtual rooms with a few other people so that you can say hello, okay? So just say hi to each other, strike up a conversation, see how people are doing these days. You can talk about anything you want. If you need an icebreaker, then hey, just tell people what your favorite cartoon character is, okay? So my favorite cartoon characters are Bugs Bunny and Popeye, okay? So, so just say hello to each other for a few minutes, and then I'll bring us back, and then we'll keep going, okay? So just say hello. Let me get the breakout rooms created here. I'm going to pause the recording. And let's continue talking about the course and how to access digital resources and other things to be successful, okay? So I'm going to share my screen with you again. And first off, something that came to mind while you were in breakout room is I wanted to make you aware of the fact that we do offer two support services for the course. We offer not only tutoring, but we offer academic coaching as well. And those are not the same service. So let me show you what I mean here. What I'm going to do is bring up the Hack web page. Okay, so here we have the Hack web page, hack.edu. And what I'll draw your attention to in the center of the screen is that tab that says Learning Commons, Learning Commons. So I'm going to click on the Learning Commons tab on the Hack main web page. I'm going to open that up. And when I do so, notice that there's some useful information here. There's information about library services. There's information about testing services, including the TEAS test for our nursing students. There's information about tutoring, which I'll talk about in a second. And there's user support. So user support would be for technology issues or software issues. So if you're having a problem with your computer, or you're having a problem with your wireless router that connects you to the internet, you can call our support staff at 717-780-2570, and they will do their best to help you with technology issues this semester, okay? So please be aware that you can access them through the Learning Commons tab of the web page. Once again, if you're on the main web page, you go to Learning Commons and click Learning Commons, and you'll get to these support services. Now, what I want to show is that we do have tutoring for the course. So if I click current schedules, there's information here that you can read, but please know we have tutoring appointments where you can schedule an appointment. We also have drop-in tutoring for the course as well. So you can check that out if you want some assistance learning content in the course. So the difference between a tutor and an academic coach would be that a tutor is someone that will help you understand the content of the course. So for example, one topic that sometimes students have trouble with is the topic of osmosis. So you could go to a tutor and say to the tutor, I'm having a hard time understanding osmosis. Could we go over osmosis together? And the tutor will help you with that. They will help you understand the content of the course. If I back up one web page here, notice we also have academic coaching. The purpose of an academic coach is to help you to study more effectively and to take tests more effectively. So the academic coach will help you with these things: time management, organization, developing confidence in yourself, making the transition to college as if this is your first experience with college. They will help you with test taking strategies, because sometimes, you know, you might know something, but you actually still get it wrong on the exam because you're not the best at taking an exam. You get nervous, or, you know, something's happening. So they can help you develop strategies to take exams better. And they will also help you with taking better notes so that you learn the content better. So a tutor will help you understand the content. An academic coach will help you become a better student, okay? And so both services can be valuable, and you can access them on the Learning Commons part of our HACC website, okay? So any questions about that? Okay. All right, so just be aware, folks, of the Learning Commons. You can get your technology support, you can access tutoring, you can access academic coaching if you want those services. Okay, so going back to the syllabus, okay, I will talk to you about WileyPlus in like 30 seconds, because that's the main focus. But just so you know, vocab is very important in our class. There's a lot of new words that are going to come up, a lot of new phrases, such as, do you know what the suprachiasmatic nucleus is? Well, by the end of the term, you will. The suprachiasmatic nucleus is a group of neurons in the hypothalamus of your brain that functions as your biological clock. Okay, so lots of vocab. You want to start making flashcards for vocab so you know what words mean. Try to read chapters before I lecture on them. And honestly, probably a good idea to try to reread the chapter after I lecture on them. And don't be afraid to ask questions. That's why you're here. Sometimes there might be silly questions, but I really don't believe there's any dumb questions. So don't be shy, ask away, okay? As you read your textbook, you're going to want to pay attention to questions that are asked in the textbook. When I get on with WileyPlus, I'll point these things out. There are figure questions and critical thinking questions. You should be attempting to answer these questions as part of your study time, because by answering practice questions, you start to get an idea of whether you really understand something or not. And obviously, if you don't understand something, you need to go back and review it. And if you don't understand it, you want to go get a tutor or you want to come visit me during office hours and we can talk about these things. All right. So again, I already mentioned the tutoring and I showed you how to get the tutoring. Mention your Hawk Mail. I believe all of you have activated your Hawk Mail, so that's no big deal. Okay. Finally, here are some ideas that are optional, but which some students seem to like to use for class. So when we get to lab, you're going to learn a lot of anatomy. Some students like to draw the anatomy. So if you are a person that enjoys drawing, then get yourself a sketch pad and some colored pencils and you can draw the anatomy that we're talking about. That can be a very helpful way to learn the anatomy by drawing it. It's not for everybody. I'm not an artist. I don't enjoy drawing, but some people do enjoy that. There is also the anatomy coloring book by Capit. There's actually multiple anatomy coloring books you might find on Amazon. They can be a useful way to review anatomy. And finally, you may want a lab notebook where you can write down notes on pieces of anatomy that you're being asked to learn, you know, so you have an organized space for the information of the anatomy. So just some ideas of things you might want to think about. Okay, let's talk about WileyPlus. This is our main electronic learning system that you'll be using all semester. So I'm going to show you that at this time. Okay, here is WileyPlus. If you already have access to WileyPlus, go ahead and log in and you can look at things with me as I go through it. If you don't have access to WileyPlus, I'm going to ask that you please do that, you know, before next class. If you have some confusion about what to do here, you're not alone. So let me say this. Earlier last week, I'd sent out some emails about how to access WileyPlus. And in one of the emails, I instructed you to go through D2L and get a registration code for something called Red Shelf. That was wrong. I told you the wrong thing. And the reason I told you the wrong thing is because the bookstore told me the wrong thing. So unfortunately, I got the wrong information and I relayed wrong information to you. So I apologize, folks. To go to WileyPlus, you do not need a registration code. You do not need to log into D2L for anything. Okay. So if you haven't already made an account with WileyPlus, what you would do is go to WileyPlus using the PDF documents that I sent out earlier. I sent you a PDF document out for the lecture portion of WileyPlus. The course ID for the lecture portion is A00249. And the lab portion of WileyPlus is A00178. Okay, so you would go through and register for the lecture and the lab portions of WileyPlus. Okay, and once you register, you don't need an access code. So if it asks you for an access code, just ignore it. You shouldn't need it. You should go right in and have access to WileyPlus. Okay, so let me ask you in the chat window. Here we go. Have you successfully logged into WileyPlus on your own computer? Okay, we're getting a lot of yeses, and that's encouraging. Fantastic. Okay, great. So if you have any problems getting on to WileyPlus, you know, come see me during office hours. We could talk after class today if you want. Shoot me an email. We'll work to get you online, okay? Okay, so we're now at WileyPlus, and let me just mention a couple things. So your version of WileyPlus is going to look a little different than mine. Let me go to student view. Right now you're seeing the instructor view. The student view is going to look a little bit more pinkish purple, right? And you're going to see things like this. Okay. So I'm going to leave student view at this time and go through some of the things that you'll want to pay attention to. Okay, so first off, let's talk about the course resources. In WileyPlus, and right now I'm logged into the lecture portion of WileyPlus. If you go to Wiley Course Resources, okay, you're going to open up this window and you're going to notice a whole bunch of different chapter information, so on and so forth. The big deal right now is that you can access your textbook. So the first icon here says WileyPlus e-textbook. If we click the launch button, then your digital textbook should load. So I'm going to do that. Okay. And, let's see here. Here's what the cover of your textbook looks like, right? Principles of Anatomy and Physiology, 16th edition, and so on and so forth, right? So this is the textbook. Let me ask you a question in textbook. Can you access your digital textbook right now? Are you able to do that? Okay, does anybody need help?
I'm gonna end up needing help. I can meet with you after, because I'm still having issues with seeing anything, but it just comes up that the course is on there. It doesn't bring anything else up in WileyPlus for me.
Okay, thank you, Tristan. I'd be happy to get together with you after class today. Kenneth, we can do that too. Okay, so please stick online after today's class, and we'll try to get those circumstances, those problems solved for you. Okay, so this is the digital textbook. I will tell you that it should be possible, although I can't show you because I've already done it. So what I've done makes the information disappear, but it should be possible with the digital textbook. There should be a setting option that does allow you to download a local copy of the textbook onto your computer so you can read the textbook without having internet access, okay? So if that's something you would like to do, please know that I know it is possible, even though I can't show you the process right now, okay? So if you're struggling with that, we can try to work through that together. If you could share your screens with me, then I might be able to help you figure that out. Okay, so if you can load the digital textbook, you're on your way to success, and that's fantastic. So let's talk about some information here. When you take a course like this, you want to ask yourself, when you're studying, how do you know whether you understand or not? How do you know whether you understand or not? The only way you know if you understand is by challenging yourself with practice questions and trying to answer them. And if you get the practice questions right, that'll start building confidence that you do know what the chapters are talking about. If you get it wrong, then you know you have some more review work to do. So where are you going to get practice questions? Let me just jump to chapter 3 as an example here. What I want to point out is a couple things. First off, here's a typical picture of the cell, right? Typical picture of the cell. This is figure 3.1 in chapter 3. And notice underneath the figure, there's this question. What are the 3 principal parts of a cell? Okay. So that is a figure question. And the reason I'm pointing this out is because the figure questions are things that you can attempt to answer for yourself while you're reading, and then you can check yourself to see if you have the answers. So let's see here. Figure 3.1, the question is, what are three principal parts of a cell? The answers for the figure questions, I believe, they are definitely in your textbook, and I believe they should be at the back of each chapter. So I'm going to go to the back of chapter 3 at this time. Forgive me for the scrolling in front of you. I know it can be a little disorienting. But what I'm doing is going to the end of the chapter to find the answers to the figure questions. Okay. Let's keep on rolling here. This is a big chapter, you can see. Whew. Okay, so here we made it to the chapter review. And if I keep going, I should find, there we go, right? Answers to figure questions. And notice the first question is answered. The three main parts of a cell are the plasma membrane, the cytoplasm, and the nucleus. So my point is, as you're reading your book and as you come across figure questions, do your best to actually answer those questions and check your work at the back of each chapter. Additionally to the figure questions, there are critical thinking questions at the back of each chapter that challenge you to really think about the information presented. Critical thinking questions are answered in the back of the textbook in Appendix E, right? Appendix E, answers to critical thinking questions. So if I go to Appendix E, I'm going to find the answers to the critical thinking questions for each chapter. Critical thinking questions are awesome questions to be challenging yourself with, to be sure you understand content. Okay, so folks, please be aware of those things. You know, it's going to take a few weeks for you to get used to this, and that's okay. But, you know, if you have questions, reach out with your questions. So do you have questions at this moment about anything I presented in the textbook? Okay, so as I go back to the Wiley course resources, you know, there's plenty of things here for you to look at, and I'm going to let you do that during your own time. For example, under course-wide resources, notice there's a whole bunch of things to look at. I will point out the audio glossary. The audio glossary is awesome for having the computer help you understand how to say something, right? There's a lot of big words in anatomy and physiology. Sometimes they can be intimidating. Okay, so let's take one here. I don't know, adrenocorticotropic hormone. And I clicked on that and I'm going to hit play.
Adrenocorticotropic hormone. Adrenocorticotropic hormone.
So as you read the textbook and you come across terms that you have a hard enough time reading them, let alone saying them, please be aware there is an audio glossary to help you with things like this. There's also some documents about words, the meaning of the word roots, prefixes, and suffixes. I know it seems like a lot of text, but hey, knowing some of these things can be very, very helpful when it comes down to understanding the words you're being exposed to in the course, particularly in lab, okay? So it might be something you'd like to download and print out for yourself and have it readily handy for you when you're studying. For example, the suffix philic, right? Philic means to like or have an affinity for. So the term you'll typically come across is the idea of hydrophilic, okay? Things like that. So, you know, there are little things here that can help you as you go through the semester, and I'll let you play with those and explore them on your own time. One final thing I'll mention is in any given chapter, there are chapter-specific resources. There's a lot of interactive ideas here. for example, let me talk about, there's an interactive concept for the human cell. So if I click on this, if I click on this, it'll take a moment to load, but it'll bring up this diagram. And the idea is that you interact with the content. So you would read the diagram and try to figure out where on the diagram these terms would go. So let's take this one over here. The human cell is filled with, and then here's your options, right? So for this one, undoubtedly, you're going to be talking about the cytosol. So you pop that in there. And you'll take time to complete the chart and submit your work, and the computer will tell you what you got right, what you got wrong. It's another way to study, right? Study can be tedious, it's time consuming, it can be frustrating, exhausting. So having interactive things can make it a little bit more enjoyable is what I'm trying to say to you. Okay, so lots of things for you to explore as you get into the semester. Okay, moving back to WileyPlus here. Okay, notice that I am in the lecture portion of WileyPlus, and listed right here are some assignments. Please understand me that these assignments, these concept check assessment assignments, they are not required. They are not required that you do them. Okay, they are not required. You don't have to do them. You won't get credit for doing them. They're not required. That being said, they are a source of questions that you can also challenge yourself with during your reading time to see if you're understanding, right? So I open up a course assessment area and I go to a question. It's going to pose a question, which of the following is mismatched? And you read it and you make your choice, right? So there are additional questions in the concept check assessments that are on WileyPlus that can also help you understand and have some knowledge of whether you truly get what the material is telling you, okay? So that's another thing that can be done. All right, so some other things that you should be aware of, and I'm trying to get a lot in here. I think I'm going to run out of time, but all right. Files. There's a Files tab along the left side. If I click Files, you're going to see on my screen a bunch of files. If you go into Files on your screen, you're not going to see a bunch of files right now because some of the files I'm intentionally restricting at time, and they'll open when you need to have them. But let me ask you this, if you're able to follow along in WileyPlus on your computer, let me ask you to go to the Files tab, and I'm going to ask a question. And here it comes. Do you see the course syllabus inside the Files tab at this time? Can you see that when you go there? You should be able to, because that's open right now. Okay, great. Many folks are saying yes. So if I open the syllabus in WileyPlus, it might take a moment to load, but oh, hey, there it is, right? So the syllabus that I sent you through email is on WileyPlus. If you lose it, it's always going to be accessible to you, okay? All right, so, and by the way, any file that's on the Files tab, you can download it to your computer and then print it out on your printer if you have a printer at home, right? So it makes things very convenient. Okay, so the Files tab will be used for files. And, I will send you things like study guides and stuff as exams get closer. Another page of important information is the Pages tab. The Pages tab has important links. So, for example, today I'm telling you about what the course is all about, and I will post a link to the video recording of this lecture later today. Under the Pages tab of WileyPlus, you go into links And I will have some hyperlinks here that take you to the lecture recordings. So you can always review the recordings of our time together, okay? Now, I will record lectures. I will not record labs because labs are nearly 3 hours, so I'm not going to record those. But I will record lectures for you. Going back to pages, you also have Zoom and visible body links. So notice the first link is for lecture and lab. You are online with me right now because I sent the lecture and lab Zoom links through email, but if you lose them or forget them, go into WileyPlus, go to the Pages tab, look for the Zoom and visible body links for class. I also have the office hours link. If you need to see me for office hours, the office hours link is in it is in WileyPlus. Okay. Visible body, I think with our time right now, I'll show you that on Monday, but you do have the link for visible body. To access visible body, you have to first log into your MyHack account. By doing that, you will have access to the software. Okay. I know I'm basically out of time. Let me mention one more thing here, and that is the discussions tab. The discussions tab is an area where you as a student can post questions about the course. You might have, you might be confused. I'll just stay with osmosis. You might be confused about osmosis. So you can put a question in the discussions tab of WileyPlus and say, I need help with osmosis. Here's what I understand. Here's what I don't understand. And then everybody in the class, not just me, but everybody can contribute to that discussion so that everybody benefits from a deeper understanding of a topic. Okay, so I want to encourage you, if there's something you're not understanding, you can post a discussion question and get help. You'll get help from me, and my hope is that you'll get help from some of your peers as well. Okay, so I think I'm out of time here. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And so what we will do on Monday, folks, is I will start content. So I'll start lecturing from chapter 1 on Monday, and we have lab on Monday. So I'll also talk to you about the lab portion of WileyPlus on Monday, including we will go in detail with coverage of the visible body software. I'll show you how to get started with it, and we'll get started with lab. Okay, so lots to do. I would say right now for the future, and the most important thing is that you get logged into WileyPlus and have those accounts set up, and that you definitely start reading chapter 1 and start exploring the spaces inside WileyPlus to get comfortable, and feel free to ask questions along the way. Okay, I'm going to stop recording.